Sometimes I hate Windows. Just going to record this video, it was buggy as hell, ended up having to update drivers, a bunch of other things. But regardless, I do find myself in this ecosystem a little bit more than I would prefer. There's just some things that work better, whether that be gaming, DaVinci Resolve. That's it. That's really it. Oh, and just general touchscreen capability. This is actually a tablet that I'm currently recording on. It's the Form one, covered it in the Linux video, almost ready for my full review, so do subscribe so you don't miss that. But the point of this video is, what is my Linux setup in the or what is my Windows setup and the actual applications that I use when I'm in this ecosystem on a sometimes daily basis. But before we get into that, I do need to thank Ugreen for sponsoring this video. They've sent over their Nexode power bank with 20,000 milliamps of capacity with a 130-watt output. Adopting an advanced column design to maximize the use of internal space, the compact shape makes it easy to carry without adding too much weight, making it easy to hold in the palm of your hand. Supporting 100-watt fast charging, out of the out one port here, it's more than enough to replenish power in a short time. For example, charging an iPhone 15 by 55% or a MacBook Pro 16-inch by 43% in 30 minutes. My favorite thing is the TFT Smart Display. So instead of having to rely on some LED lights, you have a full screen that gives you the battery power, remaining charge time, output and input power, voltages, current, and more. The 20,000 milliamp battery is airline approved, and it can fully charge an iPhone 15 up to 4 times, or fully charge multiple devices on your trip. So if you're interested in checking out this battery, do go ahead and click the first link in the description to go ahead and learn more and pick yours up today. And the first thing I'm going to go over is the tweaks, the things that need to be changed. If I go over to this desktop, I have a WinUtil. This is actually an application by Chris Titus, friend of the channel. Chris Titus, he does a phenomenal job with this piece of software, and if you are installing Windows, this is one of the very first things you should probably do. First of all, gives you a really nice kind of layout of all the popular utilities and tools. A lot of these I use, and you can easily install them through here. It uses Winget, which is a package manager, actually a native package manager for Windows that you can use to install applications. And you can see an absolute boatload here. All you do, go through, check what you need, click install, life is good. Where I have the most fun over here is tweaks. Real quick, I'm going to go through and check some of the things I actually do. There we go. I went through and did my kind of little customization that I do. Disable some telemetry. We disable some unneeded networking stuff here. Enable in task with right click. We have switching from PowerShell 5 to PowerShell 7. The bloating edge, services to manual, and right over here I do enable the classic right click menu as well as switching over to UTC, so if I do ever want to dual boot Linux on the machine that I'm on, it just gets rid of one potential issue that may arise because of that. And when we hover over these, it does give us a nice little description of what is going on, and to learn more you could just click these little question links here, which take you to his website giving you more information. We have customized preferences here. This one is the only thing on here that's not working right now, which is unfortunate. If I try to enable that, we get some permission errors over here. So I don't want this here, but it's okay. Configuration here, this is another one where it helps you enable a lot of services that you're eventually going to need in an application you install, whether that be the net framework, virtualization stuff, NFS for the network file system, and you can enable Windows Subsystem for Linux here, which I've done. Additionally, we have updates. So this right here, security only updates, allows you to prevent things from changing radically with just a normal Windows update. And MicroWin, which is a whole other thing, allows you to create a lightweight ISO. I've never done that, but it's cool that that's there. So after all the tweaks that I want are done and my system is at least moderately usable, I switch out the terminal. This is the one I'm currently using. This is the Fluent Terminal. It looks absolutely beautiful, as you can see here. It's not nearly as feature rich as something like Putty, for example, which is a client that you can use for like remote connections. Any terminal supports SSH, but if I go over here to the menu, we could do new tab, new window. If I go new tab, you could see some presets that I have here, and these are some local machines. So for example, if I go to Docker Pi here, type in my password, this is just a little Docker instance running on a Raspberry Pi, and we're in. You could see it and it looks good too. That's because there is actually a theme This is the Ubuntu theme. If I go over to settings here and go down to my SSH profiles, you can see I have Docker Pi and my Nextcloud virtual machine, and we can set the theme here. There's not a lot of themes, which is unfortunate. If I edit this, for example, and go to theme, we can see we do have a couple options. None of them look that good to me, except for the Ubuntu Bash, and PowerShell looks pretty good. But it's cool too, because then you can add environmental variables. You can use Mosh if that's something you want. Overall, this SSH profile thing is nice. And then over here, we have some specific terminal customization, so the font size and all that. Again, not very many features, but just everything that I happen to want and need. So this Fluent Terminal is awesome. And another thing I do find myself using quite a bit, if I go new tab here and I go WSL, that's the Windows subsystem for Linux. So you can see here I do have a Linux CLI background that's Ubuntu running in the background. And I primarily use this for scripts and things that don't really work that well in Windows. Just throw open WSL, life is good. Example of a recent use case was Image, the Image CLI tool to back up photos. Just ran it through here and was easily able to link it to a network, use the utility here, and back up very large photo libraries within WSL. It was good. And of course, it's full Linux, so there's a lot of other use cases for it. If you don't have easy access to a virtual machine or you just want to do something real quick and easy on this machine. Hey, another thing you probably noticed over here, if I close out the terminal, I do have some widgets, some nice little CPU widgets or system monitoring widgets. And this is a thing I often do, usually integrated into like the GNOME top bar. I like to kind of have a way to monitor my system there. This is a really pretty way to do it that looks and matches kind of the Windows aesthetic here. If I right click, you can see that this is rain meter. If I go manage here, I do have some other things that I was testing out and playing with. For example, authentic weather here. If I go ahead and load that, it'll pop it in over here. But again, I was just playing around with it. It's not completely set up. What I do have set up right here is the system fetch suite or the skins of utilities here. And for example, let's just say I wanted an analog clock. I would go over here. I would load that in. And now we have this really nice analog clock that kind of fits the aesthetic. We do have some options here. You can customize the coordinates or the location on the actual screen if you want to get it really specific. Transparency, things on hover. If I go over here to edit settings, and you could actually make customizations through here, which that actually takes us to another application. I've been using this since this channel used to be like a Minecraft server channel, and that is Notepad++. Absolutely amazing text editor, code editor, configuration editor. I love it, especially for just like quick little things like editing a config like this. It's remarkable. Has a ton of different features and stuff in which I do not use, but when it comes to Santex highlighting, things like that, it's pretty nice. I also use VS Codium right here. VS Codium is basically just a VS Code without all the Microsoft nonsense. And I use it mostly to edit Docker configurations. So you can see right here, I have my app data folder automatically here from my Unraid server. And you can see a lot of the various configuration folders that I have. For example, if I go to something like Telegraph here, open up the Telegraph conf file, it's there, ready to go. I can make any edits here and then use the terminal application to reload those Docker containers. And a tool that's actually a Microsoft tool that I use a little bit here and there is this. This is PC Manager. This is basically CCleaner, as it has a vast majority of all of the features except for the it's not weird in terms of how the company that runs CCleaner functions, and it just better integrates with some of the other things that Microsoft provides out of the gate. So here I have health check processes. If I click on boost right here, it's going to go ahead and wipe those temporary files. And if we go over to protection, we can manage our Windows updates, virus scanning, and all that through here. And we could see our storage, so we could do a deep clean. We could see the large files that are taking up a lot of room really easily right here. If I go over to apps, we can see the current running processes. And if I go back, we can actually manage our startup applications here. For example, I don't want that. And they do have recommended here, which we will keep those. And then there's a toolbox with other things that you can access, which again are just Windows tools, web tools. And if I wanted to, I can enable this to show the toolbar on the desktop. And now we have this thing floating around. I personally never will or have used that, but that's just another little tool. Going from there, we have my most frequent applications, which I have sitting here on the bottom. I currently use Microsoft Edge, however, it has been bloated due to the first thing that we mentioned. But I'm starting to dabble around and play with Firefox a bit more. It was my primary web browser very long time. But honestly, I even use Microsoft Edge on Linux, and I get a lot of comments, a lot of distasteful comments about that. But speaking of Mozilla, I have been using a Mozilla Thunderbird as my primary email client. Moving on over here, you see I have a custom theme. It looks pretty good. I like the layout. It's very similar to Gmail, which I've been in forever. I used MailSpring for quite a while. That's another really good one with some really specific features to help you kind of track if people open it, click links or things like that. But I haven't really used that in a long time. I usually just stick with the Gmail interface, but I forced myself to start using this more after they updated the application, made it more modern and appealing for me. But just overall, it's a really solid application, especially compared to when I tried using it more frequently a couple years ago. It's just gotten substantially better. From there, we have DaVinci Resolve. This does work on Linux, but not that great. Honestly, this is probably the main reason I find myself on a Windows machine, is DaVinci Resolve. It's a get to work on Linux if you don't have a NVIDIA GPU, which I do not. And there's other little scripts and things that you have to do to the files to get them to actually function properly. But DaVinci Resolve is by far the best video editor that I have ever used. And it's really cool because they have a free version that you could just use and have a lot of the functionality that you have from the studio version, which I do have the studio version, which adds some additional like graphics. This little picture in picture that you're seeing right now is a pre-baked in studio effect. I believe I also have Kdenlive in here, which is the a free and open source video editor. I primarily use DaVinci, but for something that just requires a little quick cut and I don't want to create a whole DaVinci Resolve project for, Kdenlive is a really good go-to, whether trying to cut out a little chunk of a video. But Kdenlive is a full-featured video editor with a ton of features. Pretty much any video pre like 2022 or probably pre-2023 on this channel were edited in Kdenlive. Mostly, of course, on Linux, but again, it have that option here. And then from there, we have GIMP. I use GIMP to make every single thumbnail that you see on this channel. It is the GNU image manipulation program. This is a lot of people try to compare GIMP with Photoshop. It's really you can't make that comparison. Has a lot of the same functionalities. You could get a lot of the same results. But when it comes to a one-to-one trying to convince people to switch from Photoshop to GIMP, that's not going to happen. It's missing a lot of especially a lot of the new AI features. You're not going to get any of that out of GIMP. Photoshop is so much better with like background removal, working with colors, but you just scroll through my channel, everything you see there was done in GIMP, so you can get pretty decent results from this application. And then Audacity, I have used to use this with every single video I've ever made. I started using it a lot less as I've learned to use the kind of Fairlight audio tools within DaVinci Resolve. But this is nice for quick edits, cuts, changing the volume level. There are filters to go ahead and actually remove background noise, and there are a huge suite of various plugins that you could get to really do anything you want. This is one of the best little audio editors that you could get for just about anybody, whether if you're doing like little video production projects like me, or if you're an actual audio engineer, chances are you've used this and you've gotten some pretty good benefit from it. Now, my primary use case for it is if I ever accidentally record in a single channel, I drop it in here and actually make it so it's a mono instead of a single like left stereo channel. But I do find myself making that mistake less and less as time goes on. Then we have Notepad++, already covered that. I do have the Reolink app right here. I just did a video on Reolink cameras. They are awesome, but I'm going to use that app less and less as I get my FreeGate setup up and going, which is a self-hosted NVR with a bunch of really cool AI and detection features. I'm excited to get that going. And then really other than that, there's not a lot going on. I do use the Display Link Manager because my dock Ear Trumpet, that is one that is pretty cool. If I click this, it's just normal audio. But if I go over here and want to actually edit the by application audio, that is what Ear Trumpet allows us to do. Ooh, additionally, I do have LibreOffice on here. I only recently added this because for the most part, I use Nextcloud with any documents, spreadsheets, things like that. But just opening something up on my desktop real quick, it's a great thing to have just available for you. The icons have gotten a lot prettier over the years, but the application itself still kind of feels like Microsoft Office like 2003. A lot of the UI are just these buttons. It's not exactly one-to-one, but it's basically 100% compatible with basically anything you'd want to do in like Microsoft Word or any of the other Microsoft Office applications, other than maybe some of the newer features that they've been adding recently. I have the Plex player here if I ever wanted to just stream directly on here instead of using the web browser. That's an option. Roof right here, the best tool on Windows that you could use for burning either Linux or even Windows images to a USB, especially Windows because it gives you the some customization options to make the installation process just a little bit more pleasant, such as automatically skipping like the add settings, creating a local user account, disabling the certain chip requirements for older machines that you may be trying to install Windows on. Rufus is great. So yeah, that's my Windows setup. It's not too fancy. I tweak some things to make it not as miserable as it can be, and I do find myself using a lot of the same applications that I use on Linux. So with that, I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, all that. Goodbye.